Hello and welcome to today's edition of Route 664, The Road to Human Kindness. I'm your host, Les Winston. I'm the national spokesperson for socialsecharity.org. That's a project of the Endow American Network Foundation. The Endow American Network Foundation's mission is to increase the number of professional philanthropic advisors, to increase the public's awareness that professional philanthropic advisors exist, and also to advise the public about the use of social security devices, those very powerful devices that the Congress has given us in the tax code all the way back in 1969. And unfortunately, not too many people are using them today. So we want to get that out into the public arena. We want to get you familiar with Section 664, just as you're familiar with Sections 401k or 529. You know what they do, but you don't really know where they come from. They come from the code. And so does Section 664. And that's a really powerful section that allows you to increase your income for later in life and reduce your taxes today, as well as to leave something behind for the community. There are professional philanthropic advisors in the community who specialize in this area, who have specialized knowledge in this area. And we're joined by one of them now, my good friend Richard Newman, who is a CPA and a CAP. Oh, we're going to Mark first? I'm sorry. Okay. Scratch that. We're going to Mark Trowbridge first, who is a fellow president of Chamber of Commerce here in South Florida. I'm the president of the Aventura Sunny Isles Beach Chamber of Commerce in my other voluntary life. We're joined now by Mark Trowbridge, who is the president of the Coral Gables Chamber of Commerce. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Well, good morning to you, and thanks so much for the opportunity to be together. And thank you for your good work. I know what it takes to run a chamber, and you do that amongst many other things. So thank you for
Yeah,
your service,
we
my
keep,
friend.
we keep busy. We keep busy, and I know that you're very active in trying to create a coalition of chambers, and I'm very interested in knowing more about that.
Absolutely. I've probably been working in the chamber world formally now just a little over 15 years and was a volunteer, much like many folks who then end up in the big chair do. But what has been great is the collaboration that occurs. We have quite a few chambers of commerce in Miami-Dade County, as you know,
Hmm.
and many of them do work together. But certainly over the last 18 months, we have been much more collaborative and much more connected and have been working in tandem on a number of substantive issues that affect all businesses in South Florida.
And so, in that coalition, what is the mission of the coalition? Actually, is there a mission statement for it?
So I don't know if we have a formal mission statement. It's really a consortium, if you will, of chambers, including partner organizations like the Miami-Dade Beacon Council, our hotel association, our convention bureau, and it really is to be a supportive network to look at high-level issues. So, for example, we're putting together a program next week with Mayor Daniela Levine Cava. She wants to inform the business community about the upcoming budget hearings and hoping to engage the business community in what she sees are the most critical issues in the fiscal year 2022 budget. And I'll have to say that hasn't something that's typically occurred in the past, but because we have worked really closely over the last year and a half on everything from business recovery to getting the word out about vaccinations to now the budget, we've engaged pretty fully with her office. And it's just an opportunity where instead of talking to 18 chambers, she can
Mhm.
reach out to one. And within a few hours, a dozen of that group said, "We're in, we'll be part of the program. Tell us how we can get the word out to our members." So I appreciate you asking that. And I think the reality is that our goal is to really just be there for one another. It's been a little bit of a support group too over the last year, as you might imagine, as chambers have gone through a pretty difficult time
Yeah,
in transition.
yeah. Trying to meet in person is really difficult, and that's one of the networking issues with regard to chambers. Of course, they're very important in the community. Um, the chambers have been around a long time. So, when you started, how long have you been the president of the Coral Gables Chamber?
It's just a little over 15 years.
Just a little over 15 years. Okay.
1 5, yeah.
Okay. And you're a volunteer, right?
No, no, I am a paid staff person.
Oh,
So
you are a
unlike
paid staff person.
yourself,
Okay.
who is dedicating hours and hours, I am fortunate to be the leader of our staff team. We've got 6 of us who work here. And we're a little smaller than we were before COVID, but as you can imagine, we had some downsizing and some attrition. But I work with a 40-member board of directors who really are the volunteer leadership. That includes the chair of the chamber and a full executive committee, as well as representatives from businesses of all types, shapes, and sizes, as you might imagine.
Right. And the importance of the chamber moniker to the members. How important is it to your members that they belong to the chamber? How does it help them in the community?
So I think, we're very traditional in the sense of, we are an advocate, we are a voice, we are a collaborator that brings people to the table that may be of interest to the members at large. Maybe they don't have time to get to something like that, but they can certainly tune in once it's put together for them. And I think really over the last year and a half, we have also been, an extension in many cases of what folks are doing in their jobs and in their businesses because of our connection to the industries, helping them get connected to things like PPP, getting connected to things like EIDL loans, bringing the SBA even closer to our members. And I think a lot of chambers are doing that no matter the size of their organization. But I don't think we'll ever leave that role now that we've really been that conduit for so many of them. And you ask about the moniker. And so I think of that in terms of, what and who we are, what's our brand, how do we engage? And I think it's what people try to avoid, we embrace, which is being all things to all people right now, as there are such great needs in our business community.
That's for sure, because of what's going on in a lot of different ways. Chambers of commerce have been around for 1,000 years. I think
they came with the start of fire, right?
Right. Yeah. So the communities don't really understand about the chambers as much as they should. I think the importance of the chambers of commerce. You're basically a nonpartisan advocate for the community.
That's correct.
Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, we have a very active public policy group and government affairs group, but we always walk that fine line because you need to work with the folks who are in leadership. And many times that changes maybe from one party to another party as you talk about being nonpartisan. The other part is that our members represent a lot of different voices and ideas. And so what we try to do is advocate on issues. So, having the mayor come and talk to us about the county budget, that's obviously critical to a path forward. What's in that budget? All of our businesses pay taxes, all of our individuals pay taxes. And so they are a significant part of that budget. And so we like them to have a voice. And I think sometimes if we can help amplify that voice as a chamber, one, we know what direction to kind of talk in, and two, bring them to the table very quickly. The best part, though, I think about chambers being around for so long is they can be a trusted advisor. We're good stewards of individual members' monies and things like that, but we're also to be counted on in studying the issue. So it's not just come forward and say, this is what's going on, and we jump right on. It's let's look at the issue, let's talk to our members, let's get their feedback, but let's weigh in, because at the end of the day, I do think as a trusted organization, people do look to see what the chamber is doing and where we are opining.
My guest is Mark Trowbridge. He's the president of the I'm the president of Avatar. You're president of Coral Gables Chamber of Commerce, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And I look forward to working with you on this issue of the coalition. We obviously would like to be part of whatever is going on in Dade County, and to make sure that we have a voice. And I did want to ask you one other. So when you get up in the morning, what do you look forward to each day?
So I think the best part of this role, and I'm sure you feel this way as well, is that every day is different. So you never really get bogged down in a grind of saying, I'm doing the same thing every single day. I'll give you an example. This morning, came to the office about 7:30. We had a Zoom committee meeting because we're still doing that, as challenging and difficult as it is. And we met with our ambassadors. Those ambassadors are our extension into new members. So they welcome new members in addition to what we do from a staff perspective. And it's great because they're such seasoned members of the chamber. And so today we were going through a list of new members that joined in August, and each one of them raises their hand and takes one or two of those and does follow-up. But we were also onboarding some new ambassadors as well, because our new chamber year began yesterday. So new chair-elect, new leadership, some new faces on the board, new committee chairs. So our transition is happening even as we speak. And that was followed by a meeting with our women's committee. We still have a very active group that puts together a luncheon every month for the women of our chamber. Men are, of course, invited. But I wanted to chat with them about the fact that our new chair is a woman and that we really should be celebrating women. And so I told them a little story about an article.
They always celebrate women.
Yes, right? About it was in Miami today this past week. The new head of District 6 FDOT in Miami-Dade County is a woman. And I said, we should have her come in and talk with us. And let's get to know Stacy Miller and find out what she's doing. All of us talk about traffic, transportation, and those issues. We kind of tear our hair out about it. But you know what? Let's do something about it. Let's talk to the leaders, stakeholders, and voices. So that's what we do. I love listening to their ideas because it informs me of where our members are. Probably their biggest challenge, as you might imagine, is just having been remote for so long. And a couple of them said, I just can't do it anymore. And I said, well, here's our plan forward starting in October, assuming we continue to see the numbers come down, vaccination numbers go up, and folks really, continuing to do the most healthy things. That's where we are. But every day is different. I have a meeting with a prospect a little bit later. And then I'm sitting on a committee that have been appointed to by our mayor on a task force on business and economic recovery. So every day is different.
That's a great. You have a nice day ahead of you. Those are wonderful. It's good to be busy. That's for sure. And you are busy executive of the Coral Gables Chamber, and appreciate your joining us this morning on Route 664. So if people want to join, if there are commercial ventures in Coral Gables or around Coral Gables, and they want to join the Chamber of Coral Gables, how do they do that?
So the best two ways to do that are you can call us directly, 305-446-1657. You can ask for me or Jennifer, or you can go on our website, which is coralgableschamber.org. And there's a lot of great information there. Or you can email me directly, mtrowbridge, T-R-O-W, bridge, at coralgableschamber.org. And we're here to help. And much like what you are doing up in Aventura and in your community, we're doing here. And, the doors never closed during COVID for chambers. They worked, even if they were behind the door. All of us were as part of the essential workforce as well, because I think we needed to get a lot of information out very quickly to help our businesses survive. And now the goal is to help them to get back and to thrive.
Good to have you this morning with us. We really appreciate the work that you're doing in Coral Gables, Mark. And thank you for joining us on Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. And make sure your folks tune into the rebroadcasts of this, which occur on Route664.org radio. That's Route664.org/radio. And you can get directly to the radio replays of the interviews that we do. And we appreciate your time this morning. My next guest was I introduced before, is Richard Newman. And Richard is the managing partner of Life Audit. Life Audit, I got to get the last word in there. What is that last word? Life? I'll say in a second. I'll let you tell me.
Life Audit Professional. Life Audit Professional. Life Audit Professional.
Okay. We're getting an echo. Yeah, you need to either you got your phone on.
No, okay. I don't have my phone. It's my.
Okay, now it's good.
Okay, I turned it down a little bit.
I'm hearing a little bit. How are you, Richard?
I'm doing great, Les. Good to see you. It's been too long.
Yes, it has been too long. We go back a long way. We have a very dear mutual friend who passed. Not that recently, but we think about him all the time. We can mention his name, Mr. Mike Melnick. It was phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Richard, you're a CPA and a CAP.
Yes, I am. I did make the dive from Praxton County with Michael back many years ago. It's over 30 years ago that Michael and I were partners in a traditional CPA firm. I thought that my talents and what I did for my clients was going to be better suited being more in the life insurance and planning business than one is in a historical business of being a CPA. And 30 years ago, I sold out to Michael and another partner by the name of Bob Lilienfeld, who's unfortunately gone as well. And I've been in this business for a long time, really targeting families of means that have a heart. And my goal is to work with people who care about their family and who care about more than themselves. Many times we realize how that caring about more than themselves will help them care more about their families and lead their families.
Mm-hmm.
Learn that through the CAP process, and I think it's a fabulous vehicle.
So when you started doing that, did you have a revelation at some point where you had this epiphany that this was an easier way to build a better relationship?
It's very interesting you said that, Les. When I decided to migrate into the life insurance world, I really did target an estate planning strategy and target as my ultimate client. And I'd say the first 20 years in doing this, it's probably been a maturation of myself and my practice, but it was really all about the money and how can we protect the money? How can we leave as much as we possibly can to our families in a way that's protected for them? But as I grew and I was exposed to clients who had a clear, defined decision to be charitable, who felt that the world was greater than just themselves and their family, it was kind of about the same time that I was exposed to a charity in $2 Million Roundtable called Comfort Zone Camp in Richmond, Virginia, where they run camps for kids who recently lost a parent or a main caregiver. And for many years, I was active as a counselor and went all the time, and quite honestly felt guilty. I felt I was getting more out of the camps than I was being a counselor to these kids. I lost my dad when I was 15 years old, and it's 50 years ago in February, and it still makes me cry whenever I think about it, because the effect that it had on me. And shortly after that, I was invited to participate in one of the first CAP classes down here, which made some papers up in Palm Beach. And I realized that I was kind of looked at philanthropic strategies or things that I could put more money in the hands of my clients, and there was some benefit to the philanthropic organization. And my thinking has changed in that I want to focus people and help them focus, or at least outline to them that there are things that you could be doing that will help people who got you to where you are, as well as how can we take a look at this and use this as your family, because many of my clients are first generation wealthy, making a boatload of money, and they got kids growing up in Boca Raton or Miami Beach, and all their friends have 2 and 3 cars and are driving Ferraris and Testarossas at 16 years of age. When I was driving a beat up Vega that I had to pay for. So my perspective is how can we help them be targeted in your philanthropy, and how can we involve your family to help you in your endeavors, but also leave that legacy? Because you look back over time, the families of means that we know today are the ones that did involve charity and philanthropy in their families. And they've been able to sustain the test of time. And I think I've kind of changed in that I know the strategies. So now my goal is, yes, I want to save taxes for my clients, but once you're committed to doing it, how can we generate for the smallest dollar the biggest buck? So first is to why, and then let's how. I think somebody once said to me, "Richard, I'll tell you how much you care."
So do you think the tax tail wags this dog?
The first 20 years of me being in this business, absolutely.
Okay.
And I hope over the last 10 years, since I've been really much more open to this and got involved in my temple at the time and became much more involved in philanthropy myself, is I hope now that the benefit wags is the tail that's wagging the dog, but then how can we make that benefit be as important as possible by maximizing the dollars as well as being targeted? My clients have been successful because they're good business people. They understand their business, they're targeted, they've got goals. So, many people, their goal of going to charity events is to be seen and wearing nice clothes, and that's fine because they're given some money. Others have a specific, definitive desire to accomplish something. And how can we put a business mode around that where there's some metrics around what they're doing, so not only I can maximize the dollars going in, but once the dollars are there, how do we maximize the result? And I think we all know that if we look at specific targets of results and we have a metric to compare it to, we have the ability to do a little bit better and be on target for what we're trying to accomplish, not just throwing some money at something.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between charity giving and philanthropy, and I mean, you can be charitable by giving a panhandler a buck, and giving, putting money into the Salvation Army pot, but being a philanthropist is a little bit more of an obligation. So obviously, there's when you're dealing with a client, with one of your clients, and you're starting with to get them on the road to a better plan, which is what we're really saying is that there's that each individual fingerprint is different. So you need to investigate that. How much time do you actually spend with the client going through this process in the initiation of your relationship?
My goal is to understand what they have, so you have to plan from a basis. But my second goal is just as important, is to understand what's in their heart. And two families who have the exact same dollars could have totally different realities of what it would end to be. And there are some clients that we meet that have very defined philanthropic goals. And my goal there is to help them maximize those and maybe ask some questions as to why. Because when we understand why, I have a tendency to take action at that point in time. So I think in the people that already have a well-defined philanthropic strategy, I'm just trying to help them define that, and I want to understand it, and I want to know what's important to them, because if it's important to a client of mine that I like working with, at our ages, we shouldn't really work with people they don't particularly like to work with. And
Yeah.
But the point is as we get to know the people we work with, I'm working with a gentleman now for over a year. We had lunch for 2 hours the other day. Our business portion was about 15 minutes of it. Another 1 hour and 45 minutes was him talking to me about an event that's near and dear to him. And I knew he was moving down this path, but with COVID, didn't really get a chance to spend a lot of time with him. And he started telling me about an event that he has going on at the Broward Theater of Performing Arts on September 25th, about empowering men, and the time commitment and the involvement that he has with this, and his family involved with this. And you couldn't find two people that are more different. I don't like a little Jewish kid from South Florida. He's not. But we have this commonality of trying to understand the emotional aspect of giving. And he's extremely involved in it. He's very involved with what's called Core Unites, and it's really about the empowerment of men.
That's interesting.
And I'm just learning about it now, and about what it is. And I spent a little time, because we just chatted about this earlier in the week, and I spent some time on its website. But it's about the empowered men through places of worship, and it's important to him, to the point that he's putting on an event at South Florida. It's called South Florida Hope, Sound of Hope FL. And everybody who's on the tickets are free for that. They're not trying to sell anything at it. They're just trying to be able to provide a platform for a place of worship to be able to help men overcome some of the issues that they've done that they have in life. And I'm just learning more about it. But the passion that my buddies talked about this, I didn't have to direct him at all. So now, and he's very active in his business, very, very business-oriented guy. But the time and the effort and the dollars he's putting towards this is unbelievable. And I want to be able to try to support him in that, because that's my role. It's not my role to help somebody make a decision what they want to do. It's my job to help them accelerate and make it better, and ask some questions as to why, and involving family and children, and how do you involve your kids in this to ensure that they have a feeling of obligation. So it's very exciting for me, because it gets me to know the people a little bit better, why they're making the decisions that they're making. And when I work with somebody, I work with their lawyers, I work with their CPAs, is then once we get them on that purpose, how do we find the right professionals out there to help them? I know enough less to ask the questions to see where they're going. I'm not a philanthropic consultant, and I'm working with people and a therapist talking with them about their family dynamics and how can we maximize their charity.
So what in the morning?
Our goal is to motivate it.
Yeah, when you wake up in the morning, what are you looking forward to every day?
I love what I do, and I can't say that when I was practicing. When I was practicing with Mike many years ago, I got up because I like to see Mike, and he was really
golf. I know. Trust me. I know you were out of the office a lot.
On the other hand, I love what I do because, unfortunately, I think in our business, and I'm a life insurance strategist. I'm not an investment guy. I don't do investments.
Is that what Life Audit? Is that what Life Audit is about? The title of your company is Life Audit Partners. So is the audit that part?
Yes. What we found is most life insurance is not performing well because people buy it from somebody and they put it in a file, and they get a bill every once in a while. And they sometimes pay it, they sometimes don't, but no one's managing it. And so how we initially began to infiltrate many of the law firms and CPA firms that we work with and financial advisory firms, don't do what I do, is explaining to them, let's start by looking at somebody's life insurance and audit. And we've created a whole process around that. Mm-hmm. But the process of auditing life insurance really has to be augmented by why you own it. And when you really understand why somebody owns it, then you have some ability to do some planning. And that's the bridge from looking at the product to looking at the person and the family and their needs.
It's a very interesting approach, and I thank you, Richard, for spending the time with us today on Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. My guest is Richard Newman. He's a chartered advisor in philanthropy as well as a CPA, and originally was the guy that helped you pay the government, and now using his CAP designation, he helps you try and find a way to direct that money back into the community rather than give it to the government. Is that a fair statement?
I would say, how do we, my goal is, yes. Yeah. I think that my goal is to understand family dynamics, and with families that have philanthropy ready, how can I help augment that? And others that are just moving in that area, I try to ask a question, is there anything out there that's going on in the world today that when you think about it, you can't sleep at night? And when they come up with something and they say, boy, I am so upset about this, whatever it may be, what are you doing about it? How are you involving this in your giving? Because I see that you're making $10,000, $15,000, $30,000 in gifts every year. How is this part of it? And if it's not, why is it not? And ask the questions that tug at why people do things and what's their motivation. And when you understand it, I think you're in a position then to help guide them and make some decisions that are more targeted. Once we do that, then we can then move into, is it a private foundation somebody's going to be doing? Is it a donor advised fund and things of that nature? What's the vehicle to do it? And what's the goal?
And those vehicles include what we call socialsecharity vehicles, charitable remainder trusts, pooled income funds, and charitable gift annuities. I don't know how much of the three of those you're actually working on a regular basis, but we hope that you'll accept the kind of branding that we're doing through the Endow American Network Foundation. And you are listed in our advisory group. So if somebody wants to find you, they can go to socialsecharity.org and find an advisor, and you'll be in that. You're in that listing as a chartered advisor in philanthropy and a professional philanthropic advisor. Also, again, we our interviews with you on Route664.org radio, Route664.org/radio. So check the schedule when we put it out on our Facebook, on Social Charity Facebook, and also this will be on our YouTube sessions. So you can find this interview with my good friend Richard Newman in many places, and it'll be playing for a while. So, Richard, thank you for joining us this morning on Route 664.
I think we can use one of Mike's old lines.
Okay.
I'd like to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And how can we be part of the solution?
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Richard. And good to see you. And stay well, my
Good
friend.
to see you. Let's play some golf.
Let's get together, play golf.
I love
Look
that.
forward to that. Take care.
Yeah. You too. Goodbye.
This is Route 664 Radio. Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. Also, the webcast that we do here weekly at community newspapers. And we look forward to spending more time with you again in the future, where we talk about our program, our project, which is to try and change things in the country from a country that's seriously in debt to one where we have endowed the nonprofit organizations in our communities and make them functional at a very high level, so they don't have to raise money each year to make their budgets. And the folks that do that are professional philanthropic advisors that can help you use socialsecharity in your planning to create income that you can use and rely on later in life. It also helps you reduce your taxes, which is something that most people want to do. They want to reduce their income tax, capital gains tax, or their estate tax. All of those things can be accomplished using socialsecharity tools, and you benefit because you get income from that transaction. And then at the end of the time of your income, that money goes to your charity of your choice. It can go into a community foundation. It can go into a donor-advised fund, and it can be directed by your children going forward, your grandchildren. I think it's a very powerful tool that you individually can take advantage of. So if you're listening to this program and you have and you're affluent and you're somebody who's in a position where you can plan to take care of yourself for the future as well as you need to, and you can take care of the things you want to do for your children, and there's something left over, the way to do the planning for that is to consider being philanthropic as opposed to giving it to the government by default. There are two tax codes in the country, one for the informed and one for the uninformed, and we recommend that you become informed. You're not duty-bound to pay the most that the law extracts. You have the right and privilege to lower your taxes as much as legally possible. And one of the things that professional philanthropic advisors can help you do is just that. You can find them on socialsecharity.org at Find an Advisor. We'll be with you again same time, same station next week. Have a great week.